Hi. Yeah, this is new me coming in. Literally, I'm about to finish rendering and this news comes out. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch have been disqualified. They have failed post-race inspection. So as a result, Chase Elliott is the winner. Oh, wow. So yeah, Chase Elliott is the winner for this race. Hamlin and Kyle Busch have been DQ'd. So this is what the results look like now. Chase Elliott is now a four-time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2022. Yeah, so what could have been Hamlin guaranteeing him as being a championship favorite, well, now he's stuck back at 2 wins. Yeah, Elliott wins. Reddick is now second. Suarez third. Bell is fourth. Larson fifth. McDowell sixth. Truex Jr. seventh. And Bubba Wallace now finishes in eighth. Eric Jones ninth. And Austin Dillon now comes home in 10th. Here's a look at the next page. A couple of other notables. Ty Gibbs finishes 16th in his first Cup Series start. Absolutely impressive for his very first Cup start, the 19-year-old. Joe Logano comes home in 20th. Kevin Harvick finishes 27th. Chris Buescher finishes 29th. And Austin Cindric 31st. Ross Chastain finishes 32nd. And Ryan Blaney will finish 33rd. I don't have the full playoff grid because this doesn't help me out. But all I know is that this will now increase Chase Elliott's lead in the regular season standings by 60 points. So we know it has a 160-point gap or so lead ahead of Ross Chastain. And yeah, if I do post the standings, I'll show it to you on screen. If not, well then, yeah, but... Literally just finished, was about to finish rendering. I have to cancel everything and redo it. But yeah, this video part is going to be a bit weird. But anyways, back to the old me. We got a lot to talk about with this race. Big time strategy race, 5 races going to playoffs, and Denny and Chastain clash once again. Yo, what is up everyone? Welcome back to the episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jet. Pocono race just concluded. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. In the beginning, basically the entire race was all about strategy, which is something that we should expect at a track like Pocono. Strategy with tires and fuel would be key. But there was an issue with the cars. They kept on spinning. Now we know that throughout the entire race weekend on practice and qualifying, cars were spinning, especially in turn 3, involving a certain driver in Kurt Busch who spun in turn 3 in qualifying, and he basically was not cleared to race due to him not being medically cleared to race. He was still having concussion-like symptoms, so as a result, he had to be sidelined for this race, and 19-year-old Ty Gibbs would replace him in this race. But yeah, turn 3 was a huge issue. Started off right off the bat with Austin Cindric spinning on lap 11 again. In turn 3. Entering turn 1 after that caution, Kyle Busch just lost his car, went up the racetrack. Kyle Larson went by and basically led the entire way to win stage 1. But that stage would enter the caution because with 3 to go, Aric Almirola again spun in turn number 3. So stage 2 began with Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace. They were on pit road when Aric Almirola spun, so as a result, they would begin the stage 2 up front. Denny Hamlin, who was up front during stage number 1, got caught in traffic, spun in the tunnel turn, but didn't hit anything and kept going. In the meantime, when all that was going on, Kyle Busch was leading. Busch clearly had the fastest car. Even though he lost a lead in stage 1 to Kyle Larson, he had the fastest car out of anyone seen in this race. But it was around this time, around stage 2, after Denny Hamlin spun, where we started to see pit strategy come into play. Again, it's expected at a track like Pocono. We saw drivers like Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, and Chris Buescher pit about halfway in this race to try and get an advantage on tires, while other drivers like Denny Hamlin and Eric Jones, they stayed out. And everyone realized that if you stayed out, you can still basically hold your own. You weren't faster than drivers on new tires, of course, but you could still put up some reasonable lap times. And it seemed as though as Hamlin and Jones would be in the catbird seat because if they were able to hold their own, they could basically save a pit stop, meaning you can get, save your tires. You don't have to use so much, spend so much time on pit road in a later race. But then Ty Dillon spun in a tunnel turn, which basically killed that strategy. We then had a 10-lap dash to the finish. Everyone pitted except for Bubba Wallace. Wallace was positioned 22nd in the point standings, over 200 points below the cut line, so he and that team had to win a race. They tried something different. They stayed out. They pitted with 3 laps to go to set up for stage 3. Clearly didn't work, by the way. That gave the lead to Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch led the entire way to win stage 2. Stage 3 then comes in, and it was very exciting to watch. The majority, especially the first half of Stage 3, was all about Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain. Chastain had a top 10 car. Didn't seem that he had a race-winning car, but in Stage 3, he showed up. Busch and Chastain were basically nose to tail throughout the entire run. Chastain was always closing in on Kyle Busch, but could never get by him. And then that's when we started to see some overcutting take place. 38 laps ago, Kyle Busch pits. 2 laps later, with 36 to go, Ross Chastain pits. And Kyle Busch's pit crew had a much slower stop, about a second or so slower stop than Chastain. As a result, Chastain was able to get ahead of Kyle Busch after pit stops and build up to about a 1-second lead. Everything cycles out, but this time you have a third driver in the mix, and that is Denny Hamlin. Now remember, Denny, he stayed out. He stayed out a couple laps after Kyle Busch and Chastain, but somehow was able to cycle around and be with the leaders. He was up front. He wasn't like he was mired back in, 5th or, 8th and 9th place. He was up front contending with the leaders, but wasn't within range. After pit stops, he's now within range of taking the lead. And he actually got by Kyle Busch for second place heading into turn 1. But then when 24 laps ago, Ryan Blaney, again spinning in turn 3, smacks it into the inside wall hard with the front of his race machine. That brings out a caution. And guess who would be positioned side by side? The 11 of Hamlin and the 1 of Chastain. And anyone with a brain knew where this would be heading. Chastain, Hamlin enter side by side. Hamlin goes up the racetrack, squeezes Chastain, gives him no room. Chastain smacks the wall, bounces off right in front of Kevin Harvick. They make contact. Chastain goes to the inside wall and crashes. Caution is out. Chastain's day is done. Now, okay, my thoughts on that part, that wreck. Obviously, Hamlin, what he did was very sneaky. He didn't blatantly do it like with Chastain. When Chastain gets into you, blatantly, it's clear as day. Hamlin, it made you question a little bit. I think it was payback, but then how he did that to Chastain was very sneaky. He washed up the racetrack. There was maybe a little bit of contact between the two, but it was almost like you could have said maybe he drove it in too hard or maybe he just got tight. It was one of those things where it wasn't really as blatant as it seems. Obviously, when you consider the history between the two, it was clear as day it was payback. But if you didn't know the history between Hamlin and Chastain, you would have viewed it as, he probably just got tight. That's it. But it was a tough break for Kevin Harvick because Harvick didn't really have the best car, but he started out mid-pack, drove his way up within range of at least having a top 5 day, and then got caught up in someone else's mess. So it was a tough break for the 4 car. And Chastain, I was surprised, in his interview, he basically admitted, he's like, yeah, I had it coming. This race, again, I really enjoyed this race. It was a strategic race. Typical to what you see at Pocono, has always been producing some really good races, especially as of late. So really excited for Pocono. We had almost a sellout crowd at the facility, so it was awesome to see the fans show up and support the track. And again, really solid race. It was really interesting knowing that you had some drivers like Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, and Kevin Harvick, those drivers that were just off sequence, trying to find something, trying to get an advantage on their competition to do something different, since they basically need wins in order to make it into the top 16, or to at least have a shot at it seems. So it was nice to see them try out different things. Stage 2 was really a strategic stage. A lot of drivers trying out different things with tire strategy. That battle between Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain was very interesting to watch, especially with the overcutting and undercutting between the two. But I have to say, again, when it comes with Hamlin and Chastain, I don't have an issue with the move. The only thing you can say is an issue of when it took place. The fact that it took place in front of the field. Chastain came across right in front of Harvick's nose, and Harvick said he about damn near broke his wrist because of how violent the hit was, and Harvick wasn't prepared for it. That's the only issue I would say about that crash, about that instance, was the fact that he did it in the middle, or at least in front of the entire pack. If it was just those two drivers by themselves, there'd be no issue with it. But I think that's why a lot of people may be like, okay, maybe that wasn't the right decision to do it in front of everyone, where it could have caused a big crash. But in the sense of Hamlin getting payback, I have no issue with this, and no one else should have an issue with it. All right, Chastain has done it to Hamlin twice, at least as far as I know, Gateway and Atlanta. So eye for an eye. Hamlin got his payback, got his revenge, and he even admitted it during the Victory Lane interview. He admitted it. He's like, "What was I supposed to do?" He admitted to crowding Chastain up the racetrack. So I'm glad that both two were straight up about it. They didn't try to hide it, make it seem like, oh, it was, an issue with someone else. They were both admitted like, yeah, I deserved it. Hamlin be like, yeah, I credited him. I gave him no room. Simple as that. So, but yeah. Overall, this race, I give this an 8 out of 10. It wasn't the most exciting, but it wasn't like the most, energetic, like, oh my god moments, but it was a really, really interesting race from a strategic standpoint, and it had some real good battles. It was really awesome to see them actually struggle and handle with the car when we saw so many spins. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was basically a Toyota day. Kyle Busch had speed, Hamlin had speed. Really, the only Chevy drivers that showed some type of speed was Elliott and Chastain. Other than that, it was just Toyota domination. Ford didn't even show up at all in this race, especially Penske. Cindric had his issues. Blaney had his issues. Logano was nowhere near a factor in this race. It was just, like I said, straight up Toyota domination it seemed. But, man, Kyle Busch, I don't know. I know I do think Kyle Busch will make it into the playoffs, but man, I don't know. Him not winning in this race and seeing how well Ty Gibbs ran in his debut race when he had zero practice, he had no communication with his crew, it was just jump in and go. And the fact that he finished 18th, I don't know. At least for me personally, I think you gotta maybe put a question mark on Kyle Busch now. I think it's starting to become more and more likely with contract situations and how that's, being further delayed. And to see Ty Gibbs with how good he's been running, I'm just saying, Ty Gibbs in the 18 and 2023 is starting to look like a real possibility. But so yeah, hi, this is New Me again. Thank y'all so much for watching, and congratulations to Chase Elliott, your new winner at Pocono. Oh my god.